everyone, I'm Mind, and in front of me I have every single LEGO Avatar set combined. The purpose of this video is to number one, show you how all these sets connect, because there is a connection feature between all of them, but then to also just talk about my thoughts on the Avatar theme as a whole. I normally do this for Ninjago waves, but not typically other waves of sets that LEGO sends to me. However, this is an all-new theme, and I feel like it's one that's very controversial, because in the comments of my reviews I've seen both sides. So I just want to talk about my thoughts on the themes overall now that I've gone through all the sets, and my predictions as to like how I think it's going to perform, and what I like to see from the theme in the future, because as of right now we do have more Avatar sets rumored for next year. Now I'm not sure if they're Avatar 2 sets or more Avatar 1 sets, but regardless, if we're getting more, there's a few things I'd like to see. Of course, all these sets were sent to me early by the LEGO Group through the LEGO Master Network, but as always, all opinions expressed in this video are my own. To start off though, let's talk about everything we see right here. So as a whole, I think the sets are a bit of a mixed bag. My biggest takeaways after reviewing them all is they are overpriced on the whole. The AMP Suit and Thanator set's really the only one with a fair price. That one's $45 for 560 pieces. And even that, with the size of that set, I feel like could be $40, but $45 is more than fair for what you get. But the other three sets are varying degrees of incredibly overpriced. In terms of actual build quality, again, a mixed bag. I really love some of it, and I really do not love other parts. I think the Floating Mountain set was a fantastic build. The actual base especially, but the helicopter is pretty good too. The AMP Suit is by far my favorite build of this entire wave. And the nature behind it all connects together, and all the sets is absolutely beautiful. Some obviously are more interesting than others, but still, on the whole, they did a fantastic job. The Tree of Souls, which I expected to be my favorite nature piece, actually turned out to be a bit of a letdown. I go into more detail about that in my full review of that set, but it's just weirdly gappy on the top, and I can't say that I'm a fan of that. With some customization, you definitely could make that look good, because the entire bottom does look great, but yeah, it just does feel a little bit incomplete. I think the biggest flaw of all these sets, though, aside from the prices, is the creature builds, because none of them feel fantastic. We get a total of 4 different, like, actual unique creature builds in these sets. There's the 2 smaller Banshees, there's the Thanator, and then there's Toruk. And the Toruk is easily the best one, however, even that one's flawed. I think the feet are way too big and feel very disproportional with everything else. They just look awkward when he's flying through the air, like you could see from this angle, they're just hanging down back there. And that's not really how he looks in the movie. However, I much prefer that to how they did it on the smaller Banshees, where they just completely remove their feet and they don't have feet at all. The thing I like about the Toruk is it actually feels like a toy. It's actually able to fold up and like stand up on its legs. It doesn't have to constantly be in flying mode. The smaller Banshees though were my biggest disappointment of the entire wave, because there's a ton of personality to the head prints, and obviously it's a very iconic scene from the movie. It's such an iconic scene that it was turned into a ride at the Disney theme parks, but I feel like this set just failed to capture it. These sets I feel like are in a weird place where they're trying to both be play sets and display sets, but they're not really doing the best job of being either. Because I don't feel like the small Banshees look good enough to be good display pieces. Like, the wings are cool and the heads are cool, but that is about it. They're missing their arms and legs, which I think are pretty important features. And while they tried to sort of incorporate the front claws, they just left the back claws completely off. So if you could see the underside of the wings at all, which one of the display stands is tilted, so you're meant to see the underside of the wings, it just looks like Technic. And that completely takes me out of the organic feel. Maybe I've just gotten used to having Ninjago dragons where they do the wings really well most of the time. But yeah, I just cannot say I'm a fan of that. On that note though, I do really like that there is ways to display all the different creatures in these sets. Both the Banshees have stands, the Toruk has a stand, and even the helicopter that's not a creature but is something that flies in the air has a stand to hold it up there. And then the Thanator I think is also very weak. Now that I've had some more time to think about it after editing my review and everything, I think the Thanator would have been best off doing it like a dewback from Star Wars. Obviously that's not a build, that's just one big mold, but at the very least they could have gotten the proportions right that way. And like you could see with the Dire Horses, those guys are just one-piece molds and they look fantastic. But yeah, the Thanator just feels too blocky, not organic enough. And while he's not as bad as Banshees, because at least he has all of his limbs, still I'm not the biggest fan of that one. In terms of the minifigures, it's a mixed bag. The Na'vi figures feel super uncanny to me. I say that in all of my reviews, but it's true. Now, I don't know how they could have been done better. I feel like they strayed a little too far from the LEGO formula. I don't know if they necessarily needed a new headpiece. They could have stuck with like the normal minifigure heads that might have looked better. Or the eyes and the mouths and everything, make them more true to the way like human minifigures look. Because I get they're not supposed to be human, but it goes beyond that. These don't feel like LEGO either. It's just very much Uncanny Valley. Some are better than others. But the human figures in this line are fantastic. All 4 of them are really, really good. Lots of exclusive parts. Grace Augustine's probably one of my favorite figures of the year. So they did do a good good job with those. But yeah, the long legs on the Na'vi combined with the uncanny faces just kind of throws me off. It doesn't feel like LEGO to me. Another thing is I feel like there's a few characters missing, considering how much budget they put into this theme, right? We have all these cool new prints. After rewatching the movie, there's some key characters here who are missing, and it's not that many. They could have taken Jake and Neytiri out of one more set, and it would have made the figure selection more full. We really needed Avatar Grace Augustine. She's such an important character in the movie. And we get Norm in his Avatar form, but not Grace, even though Grace's avatar is way more important. And on the flip side of that, we don't get Human Norm, when I'd argue Human Norm is way more important than Avatar Norm. So those two are ones I feel are definitely missing. If the sets coming out next year are not Avatar 2 sets and they are Avatar 1 sets, maybe we'll get those figures then, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Additionally, I feel like the reused hair pieces are a little bit lame, especially Sute and Norm reusing Jake's hair. Like, I get that has to happen sometimes, but I don't know, we have all these Na'vi figures, and a lot of them are just Jake and Neytiri, but they have 2 hair pieces across all of them. Just a little bit lame in my opinion. But at the end of the day, whether these sets are good or not, I just wonder how they're gonna sell. You guys have to let me know in the comments if you guys are genuinely interested in picking these up or not, because in my opinion, I don't have high hopes for them. Even though there is a decent amount of good here, I feel like LEGO Avatar just has a weird place in LEGO's lineup. Like I said, it feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be. It's not sure if it's a collector's theme or a kid's theme, and as such, it kinda fails at both. The builds are made to be simple and not too complex for kids. Like, I like the helicopter, but that's straight up just a Jurassic World build. But as such, I don't know if they're going to be that interesting for older collectors either. But they're missing the play features to make them really interesting for kids. And I also just don't know if Avatar's an IP kids are going to be interested in. Because, like, I was a kid when the first Avatar came out, and I remember going to see it in the theaters. I remember it becoming the best-selling movie of all time. But I was a kid at that time, and I don't remember ever going, wow, I want Avatar toys. I don't remember any kids at recess running around and pretending to be Avatar characters. It was a movie we all went and saw, and we were like, okay, that was cool, the 3D was awesome, and then we never really thought about it again. Because it is a movie targeted towards a slightly older audience, and when I rewatched it recently, I did enjoy it more than I did as a kid, but I just feel like it's a franchise that just doesn't lend itself that well to toys, and that's fine. Not every franchise has to be a toy. But LEGO's making these, and I just don't know how well they're gonna do. So I'm very curious to see how long this theme is gonna last. Are we gonna be getting Avatar 3 and 4 sets when those movies come out? But anyway, yeah, I just want to have this discussion with you all about all that. Now let me move all the extraneous parts of these sets out of the way. Let me just show you how all of the terrain sections connect to each other. Alright, so here's all the different terrain pieces connected together. Of course, you can move them around, rearrange them if you want. This is just what I thought the best orientation was. And I did keep the Banshees and the helicopters up here, because I feel like it adds more life to these builds. But here's all these connect together, and yeah, I mean, it's cute. I like when different sets have ways to connect to each other, so it's really cool that I did bring that over to the Avatar line. Also, by the way, this section comes in the Tree of Souls set, and I'm pretty sure I completely forgot to include it in my review. But on the other hand, nobody mentioned that I forgot to include it in my review, because it's pretty hidden on the box art. So when I was sitting down to film, I was going through all my Avatar sets, and I'm like, okay, what part's in the Tree of Souls? And I completely missed this. But then when I was putting everything together for this review, I was like, wait, what set did that come in? But yeah, because you guys probably haven't seen it yet, there's a look at that build. I really like the sand green plants with the red tentacles coming out. Those are a lot of fun. And there's some other pretty colorful parts there, but I don't have a ton else to say about it. Obviously, the large mountain that the Toruk goes on top of is the largest terrain build in any of the sets. And then it comes down to the smaller section, and then here's where the 2 Banshees connect. But no, I really like how all this connects together. I would love to see more of these terrain builds in the Avatar 2 sets that come out next year, because if you could just add to this collection, make a giant Pandora build, that would be awesome. So overall, I'm not really sure what to think of the Avatar line. Of course, LEGO sent these to me early and for free, so that I could review them on my channel for all of you guys. But if they hadn't sent them to me, now that I have them all in hand and like know what they're like, the only one I would really want is the AMP suit. The floating mountain base is a fantastic set, especially the base itself. But it's just way too expensive, and it's just not a set I care all too much about. But if you're a huge Avatar fan, you definitely need to get that one, because that one is incredibly well done. It's just not a set that personally interests me all that much. And then the Tree of Souls and the Banshees, which are arguably the most exciting looking sets, are the most disappointing. The Tree of Souls is alright, there's good and bad to that set, and then the Banshees I straight up do not recommend anybody get. Unless you're planning on heavily modifying the Banshees, that one is not worth it. But yeah, the point of this video is just to open a dialogue with you all. So let me know in the comments what you think of these sets. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? How do you think they could be better? Where do you think LEGO succeeded and failed? Let me know, I'm very curious. But as for this video, I think it's about going to do it. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed, please press like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. I do LEGO videos just like this one almost every day, so if you subscribe, you'll be the first to see them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!